Money shapes the rhythm of our lives in ways most of us never fully notice. It dictates our choices, our routines, our opportunities, and often, our fears. There is a quiet truth hiding underneath every paycheck, every bill, every moment of financial relief or financial panic. Most people don't struggle with money because they're weak or irresponsible or somehow destined to fail. They struggle because the world around them was built in a way that almost guarantees it. And once you finally see the patterns, everything changes. Think about this for a moment. Half of all adults in one of the richest countries in the world wake up every day either happy or very happy about their financial situation, while the other half lives in a constant tug of war between survival and hope. That split alone tells you something is happening beneath the surface. Because when you look closer, when you peel away the surface level optimism, you find that almost half the population, 49%, is living paycheck to paycheck. Every month is a cliffhanger. Every week is a countdown. Every unexpected expense feels like a threat. And here's where it gets even heavier. Half of all adults worry about money every single day. Not once in a while, not from time to time, every day. Some lose sleep, some sit awake at night calculating bills in their head. Some carry the weight silently because they don't want their family to see their fear. And it doesn't matter whether the economy looks stable, or whether inflation is cooling down, or whether prices are trending one way or another. The stress is there, persistent, familiar, almost expected. But here's the part that most people never hear. These struggles don't start in adulthood. They don't appear the moment you get your first job, or your first bill, or your first credit card statement. They begin much earlier, in the years when people should be learning how money actually works. Instead, they learn something else entirely. In schools, young people are taught big economic ideas, GDP, mathematical models, theories of growth and interest rates, but almost never the practical skills they need to survive. No one teaches them how to budget, how to save consistently, how to build habits that keep them stable. They enter adulthood like pilots who studied aerodynamics but never learned how to fly a plane. And then they wonder why they crash. By the time a young adult begins earning money, the mistakes have already begun. They learn money by mistake, through overdraft fees, forgotten bills, late payments, loans they didn't fully understand, and financial decisions that could have been avoided with just a little guidance. And because the early career years come with low salaries and high expenses, those mistakes hit harder. Without the foundation they should have received, many people slip into cycles of debt, stress spending, or avoidance. They don't talk about it. They just try to keep up. But here's where everything shifts. Because once you zoom out, once you look at the collective data, not one person, not one family, but an entire country, you see a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Half of America says they're happy with their finances, yet half also worries daily. Half feels stable, yet half lives paycheck to paycheck. Half invests for the future, yet only 14% invest enough to secure that future. Half believes they're doing fine, yet 43% can't pay a bill easily, and a third struggle to afford food. It's a nation split down the center, not by wealth, but by understanding, by habits, by emotional responses to stress, by behaviors that quietly shape financial outcomes long before money even enters the equation. And the deeper you look, the more contradictions you find. Nearly half of adults say it's easier to get a loan than to build savings. Imagine that. Borrowing feels easier than keeping your own money. That alone explains why debt is so common, why people feel stuck, and why financial transformation feels like climbing a mountain with no rope. But here's the part nobody expects. Even when costs drop, even when food prices ease, even when housing struggles decline, even when things objectively improve, most people don't feel it. Nearly half believe the price of something as simple as eggs is still rising, even when it isn't. Perception becomes reality, stress becomes a filter, and when you're used to financial difficulty, even good news feels suspicious. Still, the real turning point isn't in prices or bills or paychecks, it's in behavior. It's in the psychology of spending. It's in the emotional habits people don't even realize they have. A third of Americans spend more when stressed or emotional. For Gen Z, it's nearly half. That means one bad day, one moment of anxiety, one conflict, one stressful shift at work, and suddenly the budget is gone. Not because people don't care, but because money has become a coping mechanism, a way to feel something, control, comfort, escape, even if only for a moment. And when this emotional pattern mixes with the pressures of modern life, another pattern emerges. 41% of adults say they prefer to enjoy life now rather than save for later. Half of Gen Z says the same. Not because they don't understand the need for savings, but because the future feels distant, abstract, and uncertain. The present, however, feels loud and demanding. And when life is stressful, immediate pleasure wins over long-term discipline. But stop here for a moment. Because beneath all this chaos, beneath the stress and the habits and the emotional reactions, there's a quiet truth about why so many people struggle. Most people were never taught the skills that make money predictable. They were never shown how to track where money goes each month. Never trained to use tax advantages to keep more of what they earn. Never guided into setting up automated investments that grow over time. Never warned about blindly following financial trends that promise quick results but deliver loss. The tools exist, the systems exist, but the teaching doesn't. And so people enter adulthood without armor, without a compass, without a map. And once they're in the thick of financial life, the challenges multiply. Parents start helping their adult children, sometimes monthly. Nearly half do it. Some out of love, some out of habit, some because their children never got the financial foundation they needed either. It becomes a cycle, one generation rescuing the next, but not empowering them. And then the burden shifts backward again. Who pays for college? Opinions differ, but everyone feels the pressure. Parents, students, the government, everyone expecting someone else to shoulder the cost. And while all this is happening, while people struggle with bills, stress, and habits, almost no one plans for the future. Not really. Even among adults who invest, only a small fraction invest enough to secure retirement. Only 14%. Even the generation closest to retirement barely passes 15%. And when the future finally arrives, when someone passes away, families get caught in legal battles because 30% of Americans have had a loved one die without a will. 66% say that having one would have made everything easier. But most people put it off anyway, because planning for the end feels uncomfortable, distant, or unnecessary, until it's too late. But here's where the story takes a surprising turn. In a world where financial education is scarce, where habits form in silence, and where stress shapes behavior, a new source of financial guidance has started rising. Artificial intelligence, AI. And America is split on this too. A third believe AI can provide reliable guidance. A third believe it can't. But 21% say they would use AI advice in their daily life. And most surprisingly, 16% actually trust AI more than human experts. Let that sink in. People trust a machine, a pattern-recognizing system with no emotions, no ego, no judgment, more than trained professionals. And the divide is generational. Half of Gen Z believes AI can guide them financially. Nearly the same number say they would use its advice. And an astonishing 41% trust AI more than humans when it comes to money. This is the point in the story where everything begins to evolve. Because when a society loses confidence in institutions, when financial education disappears from schools, when young adults are left to learn through painful mistakes, something else must fill the void. Something predictable, something available, something that feels less intimidating than a human and more accessible than a classroom. But even with this shift, even with new tools and new technology, the core remains unchanged. Most people struggle with money not because they're incapable, but because the system they grew up in never taught them another way. So they move through adulthood repeating the same motions, working hard, paying bills, worrying daily, helping family, delaying savings, spending emotionally, pursuing comfort in the moment, and fearing the future even when they don't talk about it. They feel stuck, not because they are stuck, but because no one ever showed them how to get unstuck. And this brings us to the heart of the story, the climax, the moment where everything becomes painfully clear. The real struggle with money isn't about money. It's about preparation. It's about habits formed too young and too silently. It's about stress that reshapes behavior. It's about a lack of structure, financial, emotional, and educational. It's about families passing down patterns instead of tools. It's about people trying to navigate the most complex system in their lives with nothing but guesswork. The struggle is inherited. The struggle is learned. The struggle is taught, not intentionally, but through absence. And once you finally see this, once you understand the depth of the problem, something inside shifts. Because struggle is not fate. Struggle is not destiny. Struggle is simply what happens when knowledge doesn't reach the people who need it most. The turning point begins the moment you recognize that financial stability isn't built on luck, talent, or special circumstances. It's built on simple, repeatable actions, tracking your cash flow, understanding your tax advantages, automating your investments, and avoiding the temptations of financial trends. Tools that require discipline, not brilliance, consistency, not perfection. The future becomes clearer the moment you realize that money isn't an enemy or a mystery. It's a mirror. It reflects your habits, your fears, your beliefs, and your behaviors. When those change, everything changes. And here, at the end of our journey, the message becomes quiet, simple, and deeply human. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not destined to struggle. You were simply never shown the truth. But now you know it. And the path forward, while difficult, while uncomfortable, while requiring changes that may stretch you, will always reward you more than the path behind ever has. Because financial transformation may hurt in the beginning, but in the long run, it sets you free. And now the only question that remains is the one that matters most. Where do you stand in this journey right now? Tell me in the comments. Watch the next video and see how the people who understand where the money's moving next always win. And if you're serious about staying ahead of that shift, hit subscribe. You'll want to see what's coming next. Oh, and if you're thinking of starting your own investing journey, take a look at the link in the description. It's the platform I personally use to explore global markets.